Hello and welcome back. Another week. We have another episode of The Garden of Ethan. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be talking to you. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Have had a fantastic week. A day going on. How you doing? It's getting late in the year. We're checking up. We're checking in. December's a weird for everyone. I reckon. Christmas is coming rapid. Can we also talk about how it is the end of the year? How absolutely fucked is that? For it to be, I swear to, I was talking to someone the other day and I was something that we did, it was a couple of months ago, they were like, it was so long ago. I was like, what are you talking about? How quick is time going? And I was talking to my dad literally yesterday, and we were talking about Christmas, and he was like, well, it's in 20 days. And I was like, what do you mean? 20 days? Are you kidding me? I don't know how time goes so quickly. It honestly scares me a little, and I don't want to send anyone else into a panic or a crisis because I do it to myself all the time. But the way time flows is starting to scare me. It is going too quickly. As I'm getting older, time's moving quickly, and I don't like it. I don't enjoy it one bit. It's not exactly my favorite thing of getting older. Getting older is fun because you get to do kind of what you want to do slightly when you want to do it. But other than that, time needs to fucking stop. Because I remember, thinking back as a kid, I was like, these years, these weeks, these days are going forever. And that might have had something to do with going to school. But I was like, God, a whole year is so long. And now I'm like, shit, another one. Another one. I'm like, it just bit the dust. It's gone. The 2023, it's over. I don't know. Some days and weeks feel longer and good things happen. And it's, I still feel like it was a very fun and good year. But God, has it gone by quickly. Also, we talked about this the other one, 2 podcasts ago, I think. And I mentioned it because I'm sorry, I am a little bitch. When it gets hot, I complain. It's a thing I do. It's a thing I've done forever and I will do forever. So sorry, not sorry, but sorry. You know what I mean? You know that vibe? Because it's getting hotter. We go through these waves, especially in Melbourne, where we go through. It'll be, 30 degrees one day and then maybe 2 days and then it'll dip back to cold. It'll be I don't know, 12 degrees. Yes, I know that's not cold compared to some places, but when you're going through these ups and downs, you're just what the fuck? You're what is this bloody weather storm going on and why do I have to experience everything? But currently it's feeling hot. It's always hot on the days I record. That's how they get me. That's how the universe spites me. But I was just I know weather talk is boring, but Jesus Christ, I sit here. I've literally been editing before this. I'm just I'm sitting here without a shirt on because I got the fan on, beautiful breeze on my back. I gotta record. I'm oh God, I've gotta wear clothes. It's too hot for clothes. It's one of those, I don't know, it's just that thing. And being in a small room obviously impacts that. But I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but let me know. When the weather turns, I feel like any time we go from cold weather to hot, hot to cold, there's just big shifts in climate. I get sick. It's not a long sickness. It's just for that day or 2 days, I will feel like shit. And when we're in tumultuous times like we are now, and we're going up and down like a bloody roller coaster, I am constantly on the fritz. I feel like I'm always nose running, just it's, I don't know if that's a thing or not. People say, oh, the weather changed, not feeling great. But I literally, that's the rules of my body. That's what my body lives by. When the weather changes, we're going to feel like shit. So now I let you in to know if you watch this or any of my other content while I am sniffing half the, most of the time. I edit my videos. I see that I am constantly look like I've got a cold. And that's okay. Us sick people, we all come together. I should really go to the doctor. It's one of those things, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I was raised in a way where going to the doctor was your last resort. Most things could be cured by, sleep, eating well, and just sucking it up. That's just how I was raised, and I've internalized that. I don't hold my parents against that. I think it's a good way, sometimes you have people that like go to the doctor for everything. I'm a very, and there's this thing where I'm like, there's a possibility I'm like, do I have like hay fever or something? And I don't know if you even get that checked by a doctor. It's just something intrinsically. But I was like, I don't know what to do, and I'm not going to a doctor for it. Seldom do I ever go to a doctor. It has to be bad before I'm like, yes, I will show up to a doctor and talk about my problems, because I could just talk about it online and not actually get the help I need. But as far as it goes, having a runny nose constantly is not the worst. I can suck it up. I will. But it's just one of those things. Heat always gets to me. I'm not a hot weather person. Speaking about weather, is this segue even going to make sense? Speaking about weather, countries have other weather. And do you know what countries are? What? I'm so dumb. I couldn't get a segue. Anywho, I think not the last podcast, the one before that, I had a comment because I was talking about Australia and its different climates and holidays and stuff like that. And someone was like, oh, you should like talk about, and I love this because please, anytime, let me know if you want to hear anything, or if I spark a thing in your thought you want me to talk about it, let me know down below. I love to like have prompts that I want, like that people want to hear about and may be interested in, because I think that is like the most fun stuff to talk about, is where we're having like a conversation. So let me know down below. But we were talking, they were talking about like travel, like where have you been, where do you want to go, talk about traveling, like places you've liked. And I was like, yes, I love talking about traveling. Traveling is like the best, most fun thing ever. I'm a really lucky and privileged person to have traveled a lot over my years. My parents were like fantastic in facilitating that for me, and I will never thank them enough for that, because I don't know, it's one of those things where I feel like you have to preface in a way, and it's strange. I was thinking about like how to word this, because you don't want to like, I feel like you don't want to go into things with privilege sounding super privileged and not acknowledging that, you know what I mean? Like I feel like, and I definitely know this from like watching different, like seeing people online and stuff that don't really acknowledge how, and I'm not saying I'm like a bloody savior or anything for acknowledging it. I just think it's something that should be done. Do you know what I mean? But I admit that I am very lucky, and I thank my parents the best for giving me those opportunities to have like that sort of like worldly experience, especially living in Australia, where unfortunately, unlike a lot of different countries, you can get to places not like easily, but like the thought of being in like, I don't know, bloody like Asia, or being in like Europe, and just being able to like go to different places that are just like close. Even America, to me, America, every state, from what you hear on like in like movies and social media and from like celebrity, every state is practically like a different, they seem like so different. They're the 50, they're so different, and there's so many of them. So like even living in America, going to different places and stuff is like this traveling. But as I live on a giant island, which sometimes crazy to think, like you don't think about it often, but when you think you live on a like where like Australia is huge, it is nearly as big as America, but I feel like no one really thinks that. But to be like, yeah, I live on a really big island is just crazy. But to get anywhere takes fucking forever. So I'll talk about some of the different places I've traveled to, because I love like travel story. I could go into more. There's a couple of ones where I could go into like heaps of stories, and if anyone wants to hear more about that, I can talk about that. But as a kid, my parents took me to a lot of different Asian countries, and that was the best thing ever. It facilitated like my love for, I love Asian culture. I love Asian food. The people, like, I love everything about it. I'm always anytime there's a big thing, and I assume this works different in different countries. There's a lot of like not trends, but like where, like, your age group is going. And at the moment, everyone that like under the sun in Australia is going to Europe. It's the big thing. Everyone's going. They're doing like months and months in Europe. It's just the thing everyone seems to be saving up for. I'm like, nowhere am I going anywhere. Like, this is something I love doing, and I want to be able to like work on this and work through it. But I'm just like, no. I'm like, if I'm going anywhere, it's going to Asia. I don't diss Europe. Europe's like beautiful, and there are definitely places I want to go in Europe so badly. And I'll talk about that at the end, after I've talked about the place I've been to, because there's just too many places that I think anyone would want to go to. Like, there's just places upon places that I'd love to go to. But everyone's like doing these Europe trips, and I'm like, nah, I'd go back to Asia in a heartbeat. Like, mostly anywhere in it, I think it would just be so fun. Places I haven't been, there's one big one that I really want to go to, and I will get there eventually. I will not die before I make it there at least once. Hopefully, I don't know. No one knows what the future holds. That's the crazy thing. But as we said, time is ticking. But I've been to Thailand a couple of times. Now, some of these vary in different, like, abilities to remember things depending on the age at which I went there, if you know what I mean. Thailand, the things I remember about it most for the couple of times I went were like, I was a kid, so I was like, the hotels are cool, like, pools are so much fun. I remember, like, not as, like, I would have to actually, like, go to, like, my parents' house and, like, figure out through the books, like, how old I was in all of them to, like, figure these things out to know if I should remember them or not. But I remember, like, buying all this, like, stuff and like talking to people at different shops, and I remember the shopping being a big thing. I think as a kid you're really like enamored by different things, and especially with like the exchange like rate, and like as a kid you only have like a certain amount of pocket money, and then for an exchange to go better you're like oh my god, like I can buy something crazier than I usually would, and it's just like it's like mind-boggling as a child to figure out. But I remember like different shopping venues. I do remember a couple of like beautiful places in different ones that we'll get to. I can't remember because they do blur. Isn't memory the most disgusting thing about being human? The fact that you can't remember all the things you would love to. Like, the way that things fade is so sad. Like, I would love to be able to remember everything. And like, even the things that you think are the best things ever and were such great experiences, the fact that they fade is horrible. Like, I've talked about, like, my favorite concert that I went to, like, this year. And I already, like, don't remember bits of it. And it saddens me. So I won't get into memory because memory's a disgusting thing. But it's so much sad. But I think one of the big ones was Marble Mountain. I don't remember if that's in Thailand or not, but then again, I'm just horrible at geography and have the memory of a goldfish. But, no offense, goldfish. I remember like all these big marble statues. It might have been in Vietnam. No, I think it was in Thailand. Oh, I hope. I remember these giant like marble statues and me I remember as a kid going to my parents and being like, let's get one. Like, there'd be these huge like giant marble statues of like a lion or like these dolphins in I remember, like, it's those things that I remember vividly. And I was like to my parents, let's get one. And let's get one. They're like, they're like so much money. I couldn't remember how much it was, but it's marble, and they were beautiful works. Even as a child, that was not lost on me. I was like, these things are crazy amazing. B, how do you, like, you'd have to like ship it back, and that would just be like a whole ordeal in itself. But I remember like going up to my parents and be like, let's get one. But that like mountain was crazy, and they had heaps of sculptures. I remember there was like a giant Buddha at the top, like a giant one made of marble, I'm pretty sure. Granted, this all could be wrong, and my memory has like fabricated lies to myself, and that's what I think I remember. So maybe not. we hold everything in the memories with a grain of salt. I've been to Vietnam, which was something it was like an interesting thing that in your mind as a child was like, it's such like a rich like history place and so beautiful. But I just don't remember much. I remember going to a couple of different museums, like talking about like the war and different things. And I remember going on those beautiful boats and sailing through those, like, you know, when you see, I can't even explain it, those like giant rocks, islands. I don't know what they are, but just sailing through, I feel like it's a thing when you think of Vietnam, you think of these things, and just like how beautiful it was. And then that, like, they're only some of the memories I have left. And it's just like and I think a water slide at a hotel. Like, is that not just the like worst thing ever? I can't even begin to like explain how, and I guess everyone can relate to this, like memories fade. That's just how it works, but they're the only things I can remember, and it's so sad. Even the next one, Malaysia, beautiful place. I just think it's just so hard to say, and I'm only really realizing this when you talk about it, because when you talk about them with like friends, sometimes they'll be like, oh, where have you been? And you kind of like list them off, but you never go into depth about them. So I'm like, oh, I've been to Malaysia. I really liked it. I enjoyed the food. And you just say that like base level things. But when you go back in to talk about them, you're like, holy shit, the amount of things I've forgotten about them. Granted, I was probably, I want to say like I would have been in primary school. So I would have been like under 12 for most of them. And I don't remember a lot from back in those times. So I feel like I'm doing okay. But the ones going forward, I do remember more of, because I was slowly and gradually getting older as time works. But the next one, I've been to Singapore. Singapore was a fantastic trip. My auntie came with me and my parents, and we stayed on Sentosa Island. And if you don't know, that is a man-made island. I am fairly sure it's like off the like main part of Singapore, possibly. Again, geography is not my expertise. This is what I remember. Should I have done research? Maybe, but I did not. And it's a bit of a theme park, in brackets island. It's got like lots of like things to do, fun things like go-karting from what I remember, like lots of pools, beaches. That was a blast. That was like the best thing. Singapore was a beautiful country. Like getting in, granted, we were only really in the city parts, but just, and I think everyone says this, but you know, it's so clean and so nice, and I remember like the buildings was so big and so tall and so pretty. But it's one of those things where I'm like, that's it. 'Cause that was probably the next places I was older and I feel like remember a lot more of, but those were I was a lot younger. And now that I'm thinking, I'm like so sad. Like, I'm like, no, why have I forgotten all this stuff? But the next one was China, and I have been to China a couple of different times. I've been to the same places each time, Beijing, Shanghai, and Xi'an. It's like, I don't know if it's called this, like, it's like the Golden Triangle or something. It's like the places that a lot of people generally go to. It's just like good places. Would I love to visit some other places in China? Yes, so I would go back to China in a heartbeat. I don't know. There's something about like the architecture, the people, the food, like people that I got to interact with, and I'm an awkward person, so not much, but you know, people in stores, and you know, if a person you needed help on the street, they're all like so nice. So, and obviously sometimes that's just luck of the draw. You can get like bad people everywhere, but my experience is just a really lovely country. Beijing, just having that beautiful like oldness, and it just had such like, everything was like so like filled with history and beautiful, and the different like temples and different places and things with like different histories and pasts, both good and bad, was so interesting to learn about. And I've always loved that sort of architecture. It was just a really amazing place to go to. Shanghai was crazy for the opposite reason. It was so like no like futuristic, and it was just such a huge city. It was absolutely crazy to me. And obviously Melbourne, is a big city. Like it's the big city in my state, and it is huge. But the absolute scale of Shanghai, I will never forget. We were like in our hotel, like, you know, not in the clouds, but we're up like fairly high amount of floors, and just like looking out and only seeing city and buildings. Like obviously there were parks and stuff and trees and you'd see them around, but just to see those buildings as far as the eye could see was absolutely insane to me. The first time I went, that's when it really like shocked me, because we're up a lot higher, and I was just like, I was like genuinely blown away, and I can still see this like scape of just like buildings in my mind. Hopefully I'll never forget it, because it was just a crazy surreal experience. It's not even like, it's just the difference between that and just like where I live is crazy and cool and interesting. And then Xi'an was fantastic. Everyone, like, I don't even know, I was talking about this the other day, I don't know how much you can see anymore, but a lot of people go there because that's where the Terracotta Warriors are/were located. Haven't kept up whether they're still there or what's going on, but I got to see them, and obviously they are like craziness, absolute, like the detail. And to think so many things were made so many years ago where things were so much harder to do, or easier, we don't know. There's all those like the pyramids, crazy conspiracy about the pyramids, like, you know, like how did they, but like we won't get into that. We could go into, I could look up conspiracy theories and talk about it, but just the fact that, like, you know, all these beautiful terracotta warriors, and they were so detailed, and there were so many of them made, and obviously I know that was for their emperors. I'm pretty sure, to like go in the past life, and they build the armies to go with them. And obviously, if you have that power and you can make things, you would. But just the scale of it was crazy, and to be able to see it twice in my lifetime is something like very special. I'm so grateful, because so you just see these things and you go like, wow. But the first time I went with my parents and a friend. And the second time I went with my school, because I did Chinese as like a subject in school. I don't know how like other countries work and how they describe what they do at school. So I'm like, how do I word this? I did it as a subject. I did it from my first year in high school. I did it all the way through high school, and then I did 1 year in university. But in university, I took it as like a first language beginner course. Best thing ever, because I knew everything and did so well in that unit. Like I'm not that great at Chinese, do not get me wrong. I would say I'm like maybe at kindergarten level to an actual like fluent Chinese speaker. I do not actually know that much, but doing intro to Chinese again after doing like a good amount of years previously, I felt pretty good in that class. But so we went with school the second time, and that was just like a crazy amazing trip, and it was fantastic to do, and just to be able to go with it's a very different, it was like one of the first times I'd been able to experience traveling just with like, well, you have teachers obviously to look after you and, you know, supervise you and be with you the whole time, but to just be with like your friends is a surreal experience, and very fun. I wouldn't say we did anything crazy, because I am scared of everything, but just like the memories you make on those are definitely like lifetimes ones. I hope I will never forget them. Like, we had such like fun experiences, and just been a kid not a kid, I was probably like 16, 17, so I was like old enough, but to just have fun with that was fantastic. One of the other places I've been to is Hawaii. Went with my family again. Beautiful place. I remember that because like I was older, and I feel like it was one of the first introductions into, because it is a state in America. And obviously I assume, as I said, every state is very different, but that was the closest thing I've got to America, so that's why I'm like, that's my American experience. That's my toes dipped into the pool that is America. So the thing that I was like so excited about, and this is so sad, but the thing I was excited about was like trying those different like stereotypical American things, because I was younger. I was probably like 14 going to Hawaii. I was just so excited to, I don't know, do like diners and fast food. But Hawaii was like such a beautiful, beautiful place. We went to a couple of the different islands. Do I remember which ones? No, because again, memory fails ya. But I just remember the beautiful beaches. I remember one beach we went to. Also, we hired a car one day and my dad had to drive it, and they drive on the other side of the road. And God, is that scary. Even as a 14-year-old that doesn't know how to drive, you can still acknowledge that everything's going a bit weirder than usual, and we're a bit stressed because it's not something easy to like unlearn, especially just for like a couple of days. Was that horrifying? Yes. Was it fun? Yes, because I remember we went to this one beach. It was a beautiful beach. Don't know where it was or what island or, but there were these giant like turtles on the sand, and I was just like, mind absolutely blown. It was crazy. It was fantastic to see. One of the big memories I remember from Hawaii, and the other ones are just like food, because if you've watched any of my content, you know I'm a food person. You know I love food. You know I think it's crazy. Diners, crazy thing. America, wow, and just like, and the way how service works with like tipping and stuff is so much different to here. And it's just wild, and it's different. And also I remember going and buying things, and then you're like, you don't have the tax included, and then you're like, oh wow, that's so cheap, and you get up and they're like, no, we add this, and then you're like, what the hell's going, like, how much is anything? I couldn't figure any of it out. I remember, for being a young person, it'd been a very confusing place, and not exactly like ever figuring it out quickly. And then the last group of places I will talk about, I did another trip with school, and I was very lucky to be able to go on it. It was the first trip that I got to do with school. Our school held a battlefields tour. It was the 100th anniversary of the war. Do I think semi... You know, this sounds bad, but I was like, do I think it was an excuse for the school to hold a trip to go to Europe? Yes, so some teachers could do it. Maybe. That is a slight thought of mine. It's a conspiracy theory of mine. But it was like all the teachers that did like history and art and things that were like relevant to going there. But we went to London, Brussels, and France. I do not even remember. I know we caught a train from one place to another, but I don't even remember if we flew to a lot of like the different places in it, or we did a coach, because it was a battlefields tour and it was for the 100 years of the war. We were stopping at a lot of different historical war sites, a lot of grave sites, or I guess they were memorials. But you know, that was a big thing because I would probably be 15 or 16 then. It was a lot for, you know, you're really excited with your friends and to take in that scope, and there's a big juxtaposition when you're going, you're in France and you're having fun and you're seeing the Eiffel Tower, and then to like, there's a lot of like serious history to take in, like in your youth, and it was a very like informative and serious experience to go on, and I do like treasure and it makes you think, and to see that you're just like, God, like. Obviously, like, war sucks. Like, it's just... And to see those things really puts, like, a lot of perspective into you as a kid to just be, like, faced with that. But another trip that I really do treasure, it was, as I said, the first one I got to go on with my school, and to just be with, like, your friends or a couple of friends in a different country. And you do... There's something special about it, because you obviously... Your itinerary is done for the day, but some days you get like a lot of free time and you get to do what you want, and you really feel like very mature and like an adult, and they give you all this like free range, and you're like, wow, like me and my friend can do what we want for like half a day, and you're like, holy shit, like what the hell, why do they trust us? But it felt so good. And really, for the trips I went on in high school, not a lot of hiccups happened, which was surprising when you've got like on one 20, on the other like 50 teenage boys going. It's like, you'd think shit would happen all the time, and minor shit did, like wallets were left places, and like very, very things that luckily nothing bad happened. Though now I'm thinking about it, when we were on the China trip, we're on the way home, like on the plane on the way home back to Australia, and we were in the plane. This is just a fun little side story. We're in the plane flying back. It's like dinner time. They're like, they're rolling around those things, handing out the dinners. I'm watching I think the second Alice in Wonderland movie, the one where they like, she turns to copper, or what, spoilers, turns to copper and things. It wasn't the like best movie ever, but I hadn't seen it and I needed distractions because I'm a scared flyer. Granted, I don't know if I was then, but definitely after this experience, I think I had become a scared flyer. No joke. So we're flying. I'm watching Alice in Wonderland. The plane drops, and I don't know if there's a technical term for a plane dropping. I don't think we we didn't just fall out of the sky and crash, but we definitely had like a slight fall, because I feel like, and this is, I remember very well, because for me it was traumatic and I was scared shitless. But I remember after it happened, because I feel like in my memory the lights went out for a bit. Everything kind of went still for a moment. I felt my gut drop. We kind of, gained altitude again and kept going. And I look around and all the people in a certain row who had just got their food, like, it was like all over them, because everything had like done the thing where when you're dropping, everything like floats for a second and then hits the thing. And I think that's where my fear of flying comes from. I don't know if there's a technical term for a small drop while you're flying, but I was scared shitless. I was so scared. It was a very crazy experience. I feel like I need to talk to my friends that were on that trip about it, like, and be like, do you guys remember this? Because there's no way I made that up in my mind. There's no way something like that happens, like, just in my head. I was like, that has to have been, and we just don't talk about this. Like, no, we've never talked about this, which is absolutely crazy. You know what? Next time I see them, I'm definitely talking about them. I'm going to use this to remember that I have to talk to them about it. And then one of the last trips I had been on was probably a couple of years ago. I went to Bali with my parents, which was obviously just was a very, very nice, beautiful, small, like, relaxing time. Very nice. Bali's, I think, probably one of the places a lot of Australians go to the most. It's just, I think, very close, and just the way things go, because obviously the closest thing to us, would have to be Asia, and going up, and it's one of the ones lowest, so closer to us. And that was just a nice trip. Not too much to say about that. A very chill time. Didn't do much at all, but one of those beautiful recharge ones. So that's really all. That's all my travel stories. I could definitely go into and talk more about the different. If you'd like to know anything about any of these places that I've been to, I would be happy to go further into them. Granted, again, I forget a lot of things, but the different school trips I could definitely go into more, because they were they were very formative, very interesting, very amazing. I do remember them fairly well because they were so great. And I was older, because the first one I was probably 15 or 16, possibly, and the second one I would have been like 16, 17. Maybe from 14 to 17, it was in those years I did the two trips with my high school. And they were just amazing, fantastic. And I could go on for them because they were just like the best thing, especially like as a young adult getting to experience that on your own, like without your parents. It's just, you get into I don't get into crazy stories, but definitely fun stuff. Now, the place I would like to go, because they said, talk about like different travels or like where you would want to go. Number one on my list, hands down, easiest place to say, Japan. I think there's a lot of people would love to go there. It just seems like the best place ever. As like, I think ever since I was little, I wanted to go there. I think when I was little, I wanted to go there because, like, I love Pokemon and Pokemon's a cool thing. As I got older, I started watching anime, and obviously that's a reason I want to go there. The bloody beautiful, like, architecture and seeing, like, all the different things, like, and I would say the cherry blossoms, but I know that time of year is also very busy, so probably not. But just, like, I know the people, a lot of people say the people are really nice, the food's fantastic. It just seems like a really lovely place to visit. Absolutely top of my list. There are definitely places like in Europe that I would love to go. Can I name any off the top of my head? No, but like those places with like beautiful like mountains, and I'm thinking in my mind that'd be like I don't know if it'd be like Norway or like Switzerland, those sorts of places. They seem like they'd be like absolutely picturesque to visit, but they're definitely places, even like places that are closer to home. I'd love to go to New Zealand, and it is only a jump across the water, but I know they have like beautiful like scenery and locations, and that definitely seems like a place that I'd really like to go to eventually. But like I feel like there's a place that I would go anywhere I could, and I'd love to go everywhere if I could. It's one of those things that, you know, it's on my list, and I hope to get to a lot of different places one day. And I think it's just a lot of things everyone would like to do. But I do realize I'm very fortunate with the place I've been. But yeah, Japan, absolutely. I did wear this shirt. I don't know if anyone's seen the show. I actually have it. I got this in like a Loot Crate subscription. It's a Firefly shirt, but it's kind of Japanese-esque inspired, pays homage to. So I thought I'd wear that today because A, I'm trying to do the shirt thing, and B, I thought it would be appropriate for the place top of my list to go to. But yeah, oh my god, would I love to go there. Just been such a fan of, obviously, if you've browsed through my channel and you're not an anime fan, you could still definitely tell that I am an anime lover. So a big thing, like the food, the culture, the people, like, and the architecture is like absolutely stunning, and the way the like country runs. I've seen so many different like videos and TikToks and different stuff on it, like the craziness. I think I saw one video that would be like South Korea would also be one. That seems like a lovely place. But I saw this one thing once that was like, oh, this Japanese like rest stop, kind of like a not a service station, but sort of like a place to stop with like toilets and food when you're doing long trips. And I was talking about it with my parents once because I like saw it and I was so blown away. They're like, there was like a travel vlogger or someone, and they're like, you can get food, hot food, like beautiful toilets. It's like a lot of, I think Japanese people grow up in this culture where they really believe in like preserving and being respectful of these, and obviously a lot of countries do that, of public spaces. And I think that was just so beautiful because I looked at that and I was like, if there was something like that here, unfortunately I don't think it would ever stay that nice. And it's really hard to admit, but obviously different countries are different, and they keep that public space so beautifully and fantastic. I was like, I couldn't even imagine that, because here it definitely wouldn't stay like that, unfortunately. Maybe depending on what it was, but definitely maybe not. But and just crazy things, like you see how like they're very quiet on like public transport and trains, and I think that is like the best thing ever, because I'm not a talker on a train. I like to just sit, go on my phone, just have my train time is my nice quiet time for the day, because obviously I talk all bloody day. And even I get sick of my own voice sometimes. I love what I say. It's just when you're editing, sometimes I'm like, don't worry, I see myself, and I'm like, get to the bloody point, Ethan. We've been waiting for you to get to a point this whole time. I see it too, do not get me wrong. But yeah, Japan is like that top of the list, absolutely, 100%. It's a place I want to go more than anywhere else, even though there are so many other places on the list, and so many beautiful places on our Earth. God, what a great like planet, and so many beautiful places, and so many places I'd love to travel to and get to eventually. But you just gotta see how life goes. Luckily, in a way, I get content, like, sometimes when you like see a different Twitter thread of like beautiful places around the world, I see those and I'm like, A, beautiful and I want to go there. B, I'm happy I just get to see pictures of them. Like, to be able to experience it through that. It's something, I don't know if other people feel like this, but even getting to see pictures of different beautiful places really fills me. It fulfills me well enough. I'm like, that is amazing. Just to be able to see it even through a picture is so fantastic. I don't know. I'm a sappy like that. I like to enjoy what I can get from different places, and everywhere has such different and unique and beautiful things to offer and show. And I get to enjoy whatever I can from any different culture. But that's about it for today. We got to talk about a lot of travel. It's a really fun thing to talk about. I have enjoyed I've never had I don't think I've had any bad travel experiences. Gratefully, I've had really good times and loved everywhere I've been so much. But yeah, definitely let me know if you'd like me to talk more about any of the places I've been, any different stories from the different places, or if you never want to hear me talk about travel again, let me know that too. Let me know anything you'd like to hear me about, or anything that sparked something that you'd like me to talk about. I'd love to know, because it's fun having that back and forth with y'all. But other than that, I hope you're having a fantastic day and week, and I hope to see you in the next one.